Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name is Hrabchak. Today, I'm joined by Lyss, Houde, and Jacob Stoller. Just like last week, we got a little bit of technical difficulties behind the scenes. Jacob is going to be joining us in just a few moments.
We're kind of like
right
Kenny
now,
and Rennie, and we're
yes.
Sean, and he's Ken. He just got to show up a little bit late.
There you go.
Get the party started. It's all good.
Exactly. The Jets coming off of a 3-1 loss. We're going to break that all down. We're going to look ahead to the trade deadline as well. So we've got a great show planned. We hope you stick around. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. 9 a.m. on a Sunday. We really appreciate it. Lyss, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It was another fun one last night. I was entertained for much of that game, which is always what I want when I go to a hockey game. I just don't want to be bored. Hockey's a great sport. Hockey's a fun sport. I don't want to be bored watching it. I don't want to have a bad time watching it. I didn't have a bad time last night. Certainly not the result that most of the people in the Canada Life Center wanted last night, but an interesting game all the less that I'm so stoked to break down today.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying that the Jets got goalied. They definitely got goalied, and we are going to break that all down. But first, I want to start by bringing up a photo here. On Thursday night, I went to the game for the first time as a fan in the last 2 seasons. I've been in the press box every single game, but it was Winnipeg Sports Talk night, the Game of the Month ticket pack that a lot of people in chat that I saw there at the game. And this is Kane O'Connor. I want to bring up this photo, see if this works. It's working. You can see us. This is Kane O'Connor, who came from all the way from Australia, is a massive Jets fan, came up to Hustler, Remus, and I and said that he watches our shows, watches the big show. With the time difference in Australia, it might be a little tough. I didn't search up what time it is at 9 a.m. here in Australia. I'm not sure if he joins us live, but he did say that he watches our show and he enjoys it. Huge Jets fan from Australia, supports Winnipeg Sports Talk, supports the Jets, and traveled 14,000 kilometers roughly to catch the 8-game homestand, catch a few Moose games as well, and came by for the Winnipeg Sports Talk Game of the Month and said hi. So I just wanted to quickly shout out Kane and all the rest of the people that we saw there at the Winnipeg Sports Talk ticket event. That was a really fun night. And Lyss, I know you weren't able to be there, but you have been there in the past. And the Jets came away with a win on that night, at least. Dylan DeMello with the 27-second. I didn't break the streak. You guys, the WST group was undefeated this year. I was worried that I was going to come in. Oh,
yeah, that's right.
They were going to lose. And it would all be my fault, of course.
They've had some great games, too. Like the
sure.
Brian Little game, the Panthers SmackDown. And then what was it? The Wild SmackDown? Was that also?
Yes.
Yeah, holy smoke. So that ends up being pretty fun. This is a really random story I'm going to tell, but one time, I guess like a year ago, I was going to Toronto for reading week and I was on the plane with one of my buddies and we're just yapping about like the Jets, sports, whatever. And we're in like a row of 3 seats. It's me and him and some other guy. And the guy, he turns and he's like, I'm sorry, I have a question. He's like, do all Canadians like speak like this about sports? And I was like, yeah, not really. Like it's a little bit of a niche thing. And he was from Australia too. And he's like, my wife is the Jets doctor. And I was like, what? That's so random. And she was like, yeah, like an Australian doctor was here in Winnipeg. So maybe that's why Kane O'Connor is a Winnipeg Jets fan. Who knows? But that's so cool. I think it's so awesome when I've met people from Australia who are massive NFL fans and stuff like that. And anyone who, is from different places around the world and supports the local team here, it's pretty special. So that's really awesome to see. And then, we're reciprocating the fandom this week with Australian Open going on. So that's been
exactly
fun too.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. And Jeff saying the Hrabchakers, no, it's not a thing. They won. Dylan DeMello, game 600. Unbelievable snipe. We're good. We avoided it. And yeah, it was a great time. Nice to see
Dylan DeMello, no goals in one game since Connor hasn't been sitting in the stands. Follow for
more. Wow. That's hard-hitting analysis right there. All right, Jacob's here. He's figured out his camera issues from last week. Let's see. There he is. Jacob, how you doing?
Yeah, I need walking music like Kenny, first of all. Second of all, I need tech support. I don't know what's going on. Like, it's insane. I did like 8 shows with my phone. Now I use my laptop camera. I've got like 7 lights. I might be blind after this. My cornea is acting up from all the lights in my face right now. But I'm here.
You sound like you're 80. My cornea is acting up. It's like my grandparents.
Honestly, you know what a cornea? Yeah, cornea is your eye, right?
It's like I think it's
sure.
Like the inside of. I don't know.
I just
do well in sciences. I'm an arts
exactly.
Kid.
I'm a journalism student. I can agree with you on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Anyways, Jacob is now here. Lyss is now here. We've got the full crew here. Let's dive into the Jets game last night. All 3 of us were up in the press box, taking in that game. And just a quick aside, that's one thing, sitting in the seats versus the press box. I had no pulse on the game Thursday, and it's way different. Let's just say that. But Jacob, I'll start with your thoughts on last night's game. Was this just a case of Dustin Wolf just stealing 2 points from the Jets?
Yeah, certainly. I think that if you play, we were saying this, Connor, if you play like games like 100 times, the Jets are winning it 95 times.
Yeah,
Usually when you have that kind of volume, you're capitalizing. And like Dustin Wolf is like phenomenal, guys. Like he is so awesome. I will say though, and Arnil pointed this out, and Lowry did as well, Wolf saw a lot of those shots. So if there's one nitpicky thing, right? Jets could have gotten inside but better. But I will say the Flames did a really good job of eliminating lanes and blocking shots. So I want to give the credit to the Flames. I think they weren't the better team last night, but I think they played a pretty respectable road game, which helped Wolf play the way he did. Listen, you can't really dissect too much negativity from the Jets. I think aside from, like Lyss and I were saying this in the press box, aside from the first half of the second period, that was ridiculously dominant by the Jets. So you can't really slice it another way, in my opinion.
Yeah, the scoring chances in the game, 38-13 for the Jets. The high danger chances, 16-4. The shots on goal, obviously the Jets had 39, and Dustin Wolf made 38 saves. Like you said, Jacob, I agree with you. If there was one nitpicky thing, yes, there were a lot of really great chances for the Jets, but Dustin Wolf could see them all, and they were all unscreened, and he had a clean look at it. And the one Jets goal, actually, there was chaos in front of the net, a high tip, which you didn't see many of those either last night. And the one time they did get one, it did go in. So I agree with you there. Lyss, what was your take on last night's game with the Jets coming up short 3-1?
I thought it was interesting because, like you both referred to, like the shot volume was one of the more interesting parts of that game, which is not the typical recipe of Winnipeg Jets hockey. So I was interested in it in the sense that it's neat to see that they can sort of shift and adjust their style of game if they believe the situation demands. So like you said, the shots maybe could have been a little bit better. And I think that's why, stats are so fun to talk about, because not all high danger chances are created equal because of so many different factors. And like you said, I think I saw a lot of shots that were like, oh shoot, that's too bad. That's how this play ends with a frozen puck here, because Dustin Wolf just gloved that down pretty easily. And so this whole getting goalied, like I'm not trying to knock Dustin Wolf's performance because he was good. Maybe my pulse of goaltending is a little bit higher because of what I've been watching with the Winnipeg Jets for the last 6-7 years. But I thought he was great. I didn't think he was exceptional. And maybe that's a hot take, but I thought he was great. And I think the Winnipeg Jets, though, like you said, they win that game more often than they don't. I liked that they did a little bit of line blending. I liked that they stacked up the pairs at the end to try and get some more offense. Like I'm not mad about this performance. I'm glad that the players aren't reacting in the same way that I am, in the sense that, Kyle Connor yesterday was like, I see 0 out of 2 points. What do you guys see? He was pretty clear that, they still want to win those games. And you can take away positives the way you can from everything. But yeah, that's kind of my overall take on the game, is that I just thought it was interesting. And I liked enough of what I saw for me not to be particularly worried about a game like this.
Yeah, Jacob, go ahead.
Sure, I was going to say, I think also, too, in the regular season, you need to have games like that where you do have a high volume and you need to, like, there's that next gear of getting to the net. I saw a comment in the chat that we put up there. That's really true. There were a lot of rebounds the Jets didn't get sticks on and weren't able to get.
And that's been a problem of theirs for like years.
It has been, yeah. And I think that I kind of disagree. Like, I see what you're saying, Lyss, about it's nice to see that they can shift their approach. But to be honest, what I saw was the Jets were just forechecking so well.
I don't think they meant to change their approach. Sorry, I don't think that was the goal. I think they were trying to go because TK is saying that volume could be overrated. You are preaching to the choir. I get that. Totally.
Yeah. I think they just forechecked really, really well. They broke up a lot of passes across the ice, and also just like typical breakup passes. King Iafallo continues to impress me in that regard. I think that it's one of those games where you're going to get in a situation in game after the first period, let's say the playoffs, right, where a team is giving you nothing in the inside. How do you react to that? How do you change your approach to counteract that, get sticks in? That's something the Jets need to work on.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, having said all that, Dustin Wolf was still, in my opinion, by far the best player on the ice last night. Made a ton of great saves, a lot of one and dones for the Jets, which was interesting given how many chances they had. And especially on that power play late in the third period, there was just so many chances, so many rebounds, but they couldn't get to it. It was like it was just sitting there and no one was getting to it. And that comment that we put up from Doug was very true. Darth Skater saying, shocked Ehlers didn't score given how he was a shot out of a cannon to start the game. Jacob actually asked Scott O'Neill, and I have the clip here waiting. So this is a great comment, Darth. Thank you for teaming me up for that. Here's Scott O'Neill asked by Jacob on Nikolaj Ehlers' first period, where, like you said, was shot out of a game.
Well, I think he's been doing that. I think that he's been doing it probably probably 4 or 5 games now. He's on that kind of. He got slow coming out of the gate after his injury, but now he's the biggest thing for me. He puts his speed on display, and it's a threat. Those defensemen don't like to see him when he's winding up like that, and he pushes people back. And he had. He himself probably had, I think he had 7 or 8 shots, but he probably had 4 or 5 quality chances himself.
So there it is, Scott O'Neill on Nikolaj Ehlers. Jacob, I'll throw it back to you. What did you see from Nikolaj Ehlers last night, and more importantly, that Ehlers-Lowry duo that we've seen over the last 4 or 5 games? I know we talked about it last week because it was new, but now we've seen a week of it. So what are your thoughts on that line?
Dynamic. I think Ehlers, what I saw was his dynamic ability put on display. I think that the great part with the pairing is what Lowry does, the ability to open up space for Ehlers, allows for Ehlers to have the puck more. And when he has the puck more, he does what he did last night. And that is, not only is he driving to the middle, and this is the second straight game he's had like a in-all-alone breakaway where a partial breakaway where he splits the D, goes right through them, 2 guys with arms of reach, and has a one-on-one chance with the goaltender. You also see a lot more of chances of an exit by Ehlers, an entry, and then he loops around the entire net, and he can make the play that he wants to make. And I think that that's Nikolaj Ehlers at his best. He definitely has a different pep in his step. You even saw an Ehlers clapper. It's so ridiculous. I think it's actually so hilarious that Ehlers makes a slap shot just like from in tight, like whatever.
Can I bet on that? Is that like a line
on
on
that.
sports betting apps that you like? We over 1.5 of those per game because he loves that.
Do you bet on slap shots?
I don't think so.
No.
I'm gonna make that app, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's so hammer Ehlers.
I have a crazy pull that I'm just remembering from our first show. Jacob, you and I fought about this. I think it was our very, very first WST Sunday Live. So like before the season started. And you made a comment about Nikolaj Ehlers needing a line mate who creates space for him. And I was like, what are you talking about? And you talked about that. And I was like, more than other players in the team. And you were like, yes. And I couldn't quite grasp what you were getting at. I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. I'm wrong. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry.
In fairness to you, when you see Nikolaj Ehlers, you think like he creates his own space.
Of course, yeah.
Right. That's what our eyes tell us. But the reality is that hockey and the way that an NHL game works, there's so many little things that lead to possession. And if you don't do those things, you have way less reps to be able to do an outlet pass or just a sequence where Ehlers can even touch the puck. And that's what was happening with the Mesnikov and Perfetti. And what I see from Ehlers now too is I also see a really engaged player. Like I think that there's never been an issue of Ehlers to compete like ever. Like that's a guy that can go in and disrupt the play or compete hard along the walls. But I also think that he's not there's less mistakes right now because he doesn't need to do too much every time he has the puck. Just skate and you can figure it out from there. So that's what I've seen from Ehlers. I'm really impressed. Played like 17 minutes last night. And as always, dynamic on the power play. I love the little one-touch passes he's doing. I love how quickly he's dishing it off his stick. Some of the best hockey I've seen. I agree with Arneal. Last 4 or 5 games, this is peak Ehlers.
Super quick. It was same thing. The whole creating space. That was a comment we had about Brad Lambert as well. Remo's in the chat. If you guys are watching live, got my Manitoba Moose sweater on today. It looks like folks are giving away some free tickets to today's Moose game. So if you want to check those out, definitely feel free. They had a little bit of a stinker on Friday, but they're one of the hottest teams in the AHL to start the new year. So definitely go check that out on the website today.
Watch Dylan Coughlin and the new acquisition Isaac Phillips on the blue line and Brad Lambert and go check that out if you're interested. Not a bad Sunday at all.
Wait, the giveaway tickets to Sunday or Thursday? I think it's just Thursday.
Oh, No, I'm confused.
Thursday. Not a bad Thursday either.
Not about Thursday.
Not a bad Thursday, but still go today on Sunday.
But also go today. Tickets aren't that
Yeah.
expensive. You can also just go on your own. But
2 for 1. You
My
pay for
bad.
one game today, and you get to go Thursday. 2 for 1. There you go.
There you go. Just real quick, back to Ehlers and Lowry. Last night in the third period, they moved Velarde to their wing and flipped Iafallo up to the Connor Scheifele Iafallo duo. But I wanted to. Here's Lowry and Ehlers together, regardless of line mate over the last 4 games. I wanted to include that little period with Velarde in the sample. Yeah, because they looked great. But anyways, Lowry and Ehlers, since being put together, I think the first game was Colorado because Nemeskov got hurt. They're 3-1 in goals. Their expected goals percentage is 72%. Scoring chances are 27-10 with them on the ice. That's 73%. High danger chances are 15-6. The Corsi percentage, which is shot attempts, is 65%, and the shots for is 73%. These are elite numbers. Like these would be by far the best numbers on the Jets. And yes, it's a very small sample, but in a small sample like this, you can recognize a trend here that this line's playing really, really freaking good, and you can keep them together, in my opinion, for a long time.
Can I
or a longer time?
Yeah. I've got a piece coming out on Tuesday. I don't want to spoil it, but it's along the lines about how Lowry's emergence and, you know, the whole 2C debate maybe might be changing. And I talked to somebody that works for an Eastern Conference NHL team in the front office of the hockey ops, and they made a really interesting point to me. So for context, I talked to someone else, a scout for a different team, before Lowry and Ehlers were put together. And what they said to me was, well, you know, you don't want to break up that third line, right? The Lowry, Appleton, Nino line. It's a shutdown line or whatnot. Then Lowry and Ehlers sort of happens. And I asked somebody else about their thoughts on this. And this person, the Eastern Conference hockey ops person, said that a lot of times coaches overthink stylistic elements. You think about what players are and whatnot, but hockey is not this puzzle piece where you're just trying to put the perfect player together. You're trying to outchance your opposition. And if you can do that, you are succeeding. That is what I see with Lowry and Ehlers. They are by far outchancing, outscoring, and outplaying their opposition. And I don't care that in a perfect construct of roles, Lowry's something else and Ehlers is something else. It's working. I don't care. I don't think that you need to. The Jets learned this against Colorado. The traditional mold that they have didn't work. They didn't make adjustments. It didn't work. You have to have different flavors. And if this doesn't work out in the playoffs, you have that Lowry line, Appleton, you can go back to. So I think, Connor, we said on a show about a bet that they would keep them together. I think that there's a lot of people in the organization right now that saw that Colorado game with Lowry and Ehlers and said, this alleviates 2 problems. 1, Ehlers is cooking. We need more from him. 2, Perfetti's playing his best hockey on the other line. We need Ehlers and Perfetti. So to me, it was an easy answer, because the other the other option was breaking up that top line, Connor Scheifele, Velarde. And don't put my head on a pitch torch right now, guys, but I think that you shouldn't bring up that line. I know they're weaknesses.
You should not.
Connor Scheifele, Velarde, you should not break it up.
Okay.
What do you think, Lyss?
I don't care. I don't care. I can be convinced either way. So it's not a very fun argument for me today, unfortunately.
It's fun for me.
I mean, I think this whole thing revolves around them not breaking up the top line. So that's why you see kind of this trickle down. And I'm glad Vern brought this up. Not a goal. They actually did score a goal last night, and the only goal for the Winnipeg Jets. Oh, and the Seattle game, the Dylan DeMello goal, that was actually Nikolaj Ehlers with the primary assist coming into the zone. Ehlers and Iafallo with the screen gave the Jets a win in regulation. Meanwhile, the Connor Scheifele Velarde line got outshot like 15-4 at 5-on-5 against Seattle. Again, didn't have a great pulse on the game, but definitely saw that. And then last night, again, they were dominant. The Jets got absolutely goalied, and that line was easily their best line. So I don't know. They scored 1 goal instead of 2, but maybe the Connor Scheifele Velarde line can pick things up, because they're not pulling their weight.
Look, here's the reality, guys. On a cup contending team, Ehlers is not a top line player. Don't care whatever way you slice it. He needs to be a second option.
I agree. And I think again, I know hockey is not math. However, like I think the way I look at this, right, is you have 12 forwards, and what you can do is you almost want to moneyball this a little bit, where it's like, what is the highest aggregate output closest to 1200%, if we want to go at that we can get from this team, moving these guys around. And if you keep Scheifele, Velarde, and Connor, together, you're getting basically like 95% hockey out of them right now. Then you have this Ehlers, Perfetti, Nemestikov line, and you're getting like 30% utility out of them. They are not playing anywhere near what each of those individual players are capable of. And sure, you have the Lowry line, and they're each achieving, 70% or whatever you want. If you can move those guys around, and in the aggregate, you're putting out, a higher output performing team, that's what you have to go with. And you can talk about stylistic fits for sure, because that's the most important part. And I am 1000% could not be more on your side that the person that they bring in should not be a bona fide, perfectly fits the archetype of what anyone thinks a specific role should be. It needs to be someone who works with XYZ player that needs someone who works with them, which in my opinion right now is a Perfetti Niederreiter move of some sort. But like, it's all about getting the most out of your guys. And if this sample continues, I'm sorry, I know you said it's a small sample size, but maintaining over a 70% expected goal share for more than a game and a half is impressive. I don't care what anyone else says. Like, that is long enough for me to be like, there's something there. And there's enough runway left in this season to continue to test it out.
Yeah, that's small sample sizes. Like, take them with a grain of salt, but they are good enough to say that you want to see something more, that to see a larger sample of something, right? So I agree with that. And Lyss, so what you're saying with the Moneyball reference is the Jets need someone who can get on base. That's
exactly what I'm saying. You need a guy who can stay in the zone. That's it. If you have guys who can only, or who can hold on to the puck and create more than they give up, that everything is Moneyball. If you want to reference any sport back to the Moneyball idea of thinking, you can do it. So
absolutely. All right, I want to get to Eric Comrie. We talked a lot about the forward lines and the Jets last night, but a lot of the comments coming out of last night's game is Eric Comrie, who lost his 8th straight game. He's 0-7-1 in those games. But in those games, the Jets have 12 goals total in 8 Eric Comrie starts. Here's what Scott O'Neill had to say after the game on Eric Comrie and the Jets just not being able to score in the games that he plays.
A win for Eric.
Yeah, that's a broken record. I have no idea why we can't score when he's in the net. We're highest scoring team in the league, and it just seems like we can't get him any run support. And he gives us a chance every night, and I don't know what it is. We just don't seem to score. I think he's only scored 10 or 11 goals, I think, when he's our last 8 games with him. So certainly needs to be better. That was one tonight where it wasn't a back-to-back. It wasn't a tough game for us in the sense of travel or anything like that. That was one there that you'd like to see us capitalize on all those chances that we had.
So there it is, Scott O'Neill. Jacob, you wanna go first on this one? Go ahead.
If you've ever played organized sports, like to any level, that goalies take a win or loss the hardest. I don't know if you guys can. That okay? Sorry, my laundry machine or something's going off. I made some noise.
You're good.
We're good. All right, wonderful. If you ever played organized sports, the goalies take it the hardest. You'd also know that for meeting a guy like Eric Comrie, you can see why he's beloved by his teammates. Definitely a glue guy personality, and it's hard not to feel for a guy. Let me give you this stat. So since November 1st, Comrie has not won a game. Okay, in that span, the NHL's best offense has scored just 1.5 goals per game. In games Hrabchak has played since November 1st, they have averaged 3.6 goals per game. So again, to be very clear here, there's no conspiracy that the Jets are scoring less because Comrie's in the net, but they, for whatever reason, are providing 0 run support to the guy when he's in there. That wears on a guy, not so much that they're not scoring as much, but that those goals he's letting in, he's probably, you hope he's not overanalyzing it and being too hard on himself. So, yeah, I really hope for that guy's sake he gets a win. It's been about 8 games without one. And you could tell the team last night was not pleased with themselves for that very reason. The guy only gets to come in off the bullpen every couple games. You don't want things to go south. They need Comrie this year more than ever, really. They need a backup with the 4 nations and what we all presume and hope to be a long playoff run. So, yeah, just hopefully this is not the beginning of a spiral. I will say that.
Yeah, Lyss, go ahead.
Maybe I'm gonna be mean here for a second. I don't. I'll be the first to say I dislike talking about goalies too much, just in the sense of they're a little bit odd, and sometimes they can be really difficult to predict. They are the last line of defense, right? So a puck has to go through essentially 10 players to get to them. So there's so many different factors that are at play in the pucks that come to them. But I'd have to rewatch a game like that and watch something, along the lines of the rebound control and different things like that to understand if there are certain things that make it more difficult or whatever. But I think this particular game is a bit of a recency bias. The Jets haven't played great in front of him in a lot of these games. Last night was the best game that they've played in front of Eric Comrie in quite some time, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Hockey is a game that, I was talking to Shannon Goldman from The Athletic earlier this week, and she said it best. In hockey, you have to be good and you also have to be lucky. And this was a game where the Winnipeg Jets were unlucky, and I am the last person who ever wants to just throw results away to luck or anything like that, because you can always create your own luck. You can always try and change your luck. I totally get that. Last night was an unlucky one, but the Jets haven't been great in front of Eric Comrie, and I refuse to believe that 8 coincidences happened consecutively. Scott Arniel genuinely seems confused, and I completely understand, because I'm also confused. I don't have a reason. I don't have an explanation. I'm not saying that I do. But 8 losses in a row, and percentage-wise, Connor Hellebuyck has 6 losses on the year. Like, there's got to be something that ties, and I don't know what it is. And maybe it's not necessarily the fault of Eric Comrie or anyone in particular, right? But there has to be a little bit more than like, dang, that's too bad,
I don't know, Lyss. I think that the guy's role is to give them a chance to win. Like, he's the backup. Like, I don't know. If Connor Hellebuyck got injured, the Jets season is done. There's no way around it. So I hear you. It's not as simple as darn shoot. Like, there probably is things, one of the which is Comrie is not a great goaltender when he's not in control. Off tips, you can keep an eye on that. You'll see what I mean. The deflection off Pionk, I don't know.
That's an unstoppable shot.
That's an unstoppable puck to me.
Right?
Or just one you can't read. So I'm not chalking up to that one, but there's other instances where that happens. I just think it's unfortunate because they haven't shown up in those games. I don't think that Comrie needs to do anything other than keep them in games. The Jets' best offense should be able to win those games.
Yeah, no, it is true. I get that. And like you said, I've always said that about backup goaltenders, so I can't change my opinion on that now, which is exactly that. All you need to do is give them a chance every single night. Like, that's all you should be tasked to do, unless you're running a tandem, which the Jets are clearly not. And I agree that he has done that, but it's just like, I just refuse to believe that it's like, wow, what an unfortunate coincidence. We'll get him next time, guys. Like, I think there needs to be a little bit more reflection than that from
obviously,
the team.
Wade Flaherty's not showing the tape and saying, "Coms, you played perfect."
Yeah. No, but not even comms, like the team. It's like, oh, like, why did you react that way? Or like, did you take an extra second in this particular situation to not pass the puck back to the goalie because you're like, oh, like, I'd prefer Hellebuyck playing the puck. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there could be like on the team side as well. Like, are they playing differently? Because last night, in my opinion, was not a matter of,
I don't think
the Jets couldn't score. Of course they couldn't score. Like, it was unlucky. But like you said, 80 shot attempts and like 23 high danger chances. Like, more often than not, 2 more of those goals will go in. The game changes, and all of a sudden we're not having this conversation. And it's like, I feel like, you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. One thing I will say is, because I remember this, if you look back at some of the games over this stretch, like, the Jets hung them out to dry against Vegas on November 29th.
Yeah.
That was brutal. And Comrie was fantastic.
He was quite good in that game.
Against Nashville, too. The game before that,
the Anaheim game was so bad too.
The Anaheim game was atrocious.
Yeah,
like they were
That's why I'm saying last night to me is different than the 7 preceding games,
for sure.
In my opinion,
and you're right. If last night's game was like what we saw against Vegas, Anaheim, I'm all here for that.
Yeah,
but I think that the Jets stylistically played the right way to win that game. They just did not because of little things.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It had little to nothing to do with the backup goaltender. And again, if Comrie had won his last 2 games, this isn't even a discussion. Going like last night, it would have been just, yeah, they got goalied, Comrie lost, so be it. This is because he's lost 8 straight without run support, 12 goals in those 8 games, that it's a problem. And I think there's talk, with the trade deadline looming, and that's the next topic we're going to get into here. I've seen some comments that, the Jets should be looking to upgrade their backup goaltender.
Don't even think about it.
There's no point. There's really no point. Like Jacob said, if Connor Hellebuyck were to go down, the season is really over anyways. So there's no point in really upgrading that spot. You want to look for an upgrade. Maybe Capo Kakinen can be called up from the AHL. That's about it. If you're going to spend, if you want the Jets to spend real life assets, like an actual draft pick or an actual prospect to upgrade their backup goaltender position, who's not going to play in the playoffs, who's going to play like 4 games after the trade deadline, like that makes
and
sense.
also,
I think Comrie has played just as well as you could possibly imagine for a backup role. They don't have Brossoit anymore. That was a luxury, but they right now have a guy making $850K this year and next year that is above league average in save percentage. That's all you can ask for.
Well, and also, like, I think we're also forgetting that basically every trade deadline goalie trade since the dawn of time has been a flop. It's a horrible time to trade for goaltenders. You need time to adjust with your team. Like
Jack Campbell.
Okay,
pretty good.
Here's your exception and not your norm. Like they don't really work, and they don't work, and also because of that, they don't happen as often either. Like a lot of people are really hesitant to make the Jacob Markstroms, right? Like they're hesitant to make those big splash trades specifically for starters because you need some time to develop that communication style with your goalie and all those sorts of things. Like it just doesn't, like there's so many things that make little to no sense about that sort of trade. I'm all here for trade deadline discussions. That one is not interesting to me at all.
Yeah, well, we're going to get into some interesting trade discussions now. We want to talk about the trade deadline. It is March 8th, I believe, or March 7th. And it's coming up, and the Winnipeg Jets, I mean, we talked last week about Adam Lowry. There was some talk this week as well. Darren Dreger was in town and had a hit on insider trading that the Jets are maybe valuing Lowry as their 2C now, and that could change things, which we said last Sunday. So we'll revisit that conversation as well. But just blanket statement on the trade deadline. Where do you think the Jets are at in terms of, I'm going to ask the age-old question, top 6 forward or top 4 defenseman? Has that changed for either of you guys? And maybe who's your number 1 target for what you think is the Jets' biggest need? Lyss, I'll start with you.
My opinion has changed, actually.
Okay.
I was pretty heavy in the defenseman camp for a while, but now I just think I'm seeing what a rejuvenated Winnipeg Jets offense could look like. And I am so here for it. And I am all for fighting fire with fire if your fire is better than everybody else's. And I think that there are more options available. I think you have more. I made the tweet about the Build-A-Bear yesterday, right? You have more options to move guys around to fit right pairings in your forward. Like I think there's potential for some higher impact pieces there. I will not be from now for the next 2 months using the term 2C or 3C. This is a middle 6 center that we're looking for. We're looking for fits here of guys that work together as a group. I don't care where they go on the line chart. It's about who they play against and who they play with. That's all I care about. I'm looking for a middle 6. I'm going to go so far as to say a middle 6 player for the Winnipeg Jets, because if there was a particular situation where they could configure this lineup and it involves Gabe Velarde playing center. No, I'm kidding, but like, you know what I mean? Like it's all about finding guys who fit. I made a tweet yesterday. I would love to see someone who, maybe this is a little bit of a lofty goal, unreasonable ask, but someone that could theoretically play with Ehlers or Perfetti, not because I don't want to see those two guys on the same line, but Ehlers or Perfetti, right? So you can move stuff around, because I still think that there is some potential for Lowry and Perfetti to be an interesting fit. The problem with that is matchup. Who do they play against? And that's where it gets a little bit more complicated. But stylistically, I think they have some interesting potential. All that's to say, I think someone who slots into that middle 6 and can, be involved in a line blender to get some more and get the highest possible output out of the 12 forwards in the Winnipeg Jets. That's, I think, who my priority is right now. I think, though, the answer is both. I think this is a year you go for it. I think you got to shoot high for both.
Yeah, I agree. If Connor Hellebuyck's playing this good, this is definitely a year to go for it. You're going to be fighting for the 1 seed in the West, not only the Central Division, if the playoffs started today, excuse me, they'd be playing Calgary, who they just played last night in the first round. So this is a year to definitely go for it. I agree with you there. Jacob, I want to ask you that same question, but I want to change kind of the preface of it. Who do you think the Jets are in on, as opposed to who should they target? Who do you think, like, if the Jets were targeting a defenseman, which one do you think they would be most interested in that has been on trade boards around the league?
They definitely have interest in Rasmus Ristolainen, and that dates back several years. I do know there was a time, don't know the year, but I know from someone with direct knowledge that there was a time when the Jets offered a pretty big package for Ristolainen. I believe it was, I don't know, because Ristolainen's last couple years at Buffalo, he was always sort of thrown out there on the trade market. So I don't know if it was 18, 19, 19, 20, but I do know that a deal fell through at one point. But the Jets have always had him on his radar. I think Ristolainen's a perfect ad for the back end, because I think what he would be able to do, and I think that a lot of people misread Ristolainen. In Buffalo, he was asked to do too much. High draft pick. Expectations were for him to be this, I don't know, number one or whatever you kind of think, but that's not his game. His game at his best, which he's done under John Tortorella in Philadelphia, is being a guy that can log big minutes, handle tough assignments, kill plays, and be physical. That is what Josh Morrissey needs on his right side. No disrespect to Dylan DeMello, but I think that the one thing he lacks for a guy of his, archetype is that size. And I think Ristolainen can provide that. DeMello in a sheltered role, so to speak, got all the time in the world for that. So Ristolainen's a guy in particular I think that they have interest in. I don't buy any smoke in Marcus Pettersson whatsoever.
Okay.
I don't think there's anything there. I don't even know if that's been brought up, but he's an easy guy to mention. Don't really see it. If they're going to go for a 5D, like a little, last year they did Monahan to Foley, so center and wing, plus Colin Miller is a little top up. I think if they go for a top up move, it'd be more of like a Brian Dumoulin type of guy to be your 5. But just to circle back to the initial question, I would say that they do need to go for it, and going for it looks like a top 4D, a middle 6 center, and then a number 5D.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. So, now I'm going to ask a question, which, the defense conversation, it's so funny. People in the chat are saying, defense wins championships. I know that's a mantra. I actually disagree with that statement heavily. You can win a championship giving up 10 goals in a game if you score 11. You can't win a championship scoring 0. You can't. Like, you need to have offense to win a championship. And
I'm not disagreeing.
Yeah, no, I know you're not. I'm fighting with the chat right now. So, I think that, it's super, super important to focus on both, because the defense has more holes in my opinion, but because the offense is higher impact, I think you just need to go with both. But my question is, Winnipeg Jets have 8 healthy defensemen right now. Jacob, you're saying you want them to trade for 2. That puts them up to 10. Who's going out here? And I think we have probably some similar answers here, but can we talk about that a little bit? Because some guys are going to have to hit the road.
Well, I think that Heinola would be traded in a package of some sort. I don't know what trade value he has. I don't think that he should be traded, but I'm past that point here. You're asking me to analyze a cup contending team here. You got to make tough decisions. You got to own your mistakes. They haven't done that with Logan Stanley, who's still in the lineup. And Billy, they're not playing him, so get rid of him. What are we doing here?
Okay, we still have 9.
Okay, so then I think you waive Stanley.
Okay.
No way. Okay, we had this discussion
last night. If you got number 5D,
night,
then if you got number 5, they'd waive Fleury.
Also, sure, I will say, I think the odds are higher of waive Heinola, trade Stanley. I feel like if they're going to trade a defenseman, I think Stanley probably has higher value.
No chance.
What?
Stanley would go unclaimed.
I still don't think that. I don't know.
Why?
No.
Well, I disagree on that too. Yeah, Stanley would get claimed.
Okay.
6'7" defenseman who went on a 3-game point streak this year, who has fought people, Jacob? Come on.
Yeah.
I don't think the Jets have ever been asked about Stanley since 2021.
Well, you might be right. But I don't know.
So why would they claim him?
I don't know. Free project. Yeah. I don't know.
He's been around for so long. I don't think that
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Jacob. Does Logan Stanley play playoff games?
No, not one.
I disagree.
I disagree also.
If they went and traded for Rasmus Ristolainen in this hypothetical scenario, I think Colin Miller's the player that comes out.
No, actually, you know what,
Stanley
Kate?
DeMello.
Maybe I scale back a little bit. If they trade for a big guy, they're playing Stanley because he's a big guy. If they can get a better big guy, I do think that there is a potential.
That's what
that
I
they
said
pull
when
him out.
that is exactly what I said though when Dylan Sandberg was out of the lineup. I said Stanley's still in because they need big penalty killing in their lineup. Sandberg came back and Stanley stayed in. So
Okay,
then
let me
that
put it
changed
this
it
way.
for me.
I want you to picture
Okay.
yourself as a member of the Jets staff. When the playoffs start, everybody, close your eyes, get a relaxing image. Everybody in the organization benefits from winning the Stanley Cup, right?
Yes.
It's on your resume forever. Not only just the payoff, but you are known as a Stanley Cup champion. When you are analyzing who goes in the lineup, all bets are like, it's no more of like, well, Stan does do these things bad, but he's big. If you have a big Aaron Ristolainen, you have negated any impact or possible role for Stanley. I so much say is I think they'd put DeMello and like Miller together
On third. Yeah.
You can't go into a series with a guy that is so prone to making ridiculous mistakes, be on the ice when they get scored, getting burned. I'm sorry, I don't see it. Like I get why you think that he will. I just think that the Jets are seeing everything that we're seeing as well.
Yeah, and I guess maybe right now is a lower.
You don't like you genuinely think the Jets are seeing something different.
Yes.
What do you think they're seeing?
I don't know, but Hayden Fleury is back and healthy and available and not in the lineup.
But we're splitting. Listen,
that's one. Yeah, he'll play in the next 3, guaranteed. Like,
yeah,
and also Hayden Fleury. Like I say this every episode. September, this man was a moose. This guy is not a guy that they thought was going to be some huge instrumental part of their lineup. Like the expectations were not particularly high of him. But I'm sorry, this is not a galaxy brain analytics conversation. Like I agree with you that you watch him play and calm turns to chaos so quickly when the puck goes on his stick. It is very difficult to ignore that. And I don't think that right now is a fair and reasonable comparison to the decision making that we could see from them in the playoffs, in the sense of the games they have lower stakes right now. They really do. If you really think that you could get a little bit more out of him, might as well run him right now. I'm hard on him more so than probably a lot of people. He is not losing you games. Like if you switch him for Ville Heinola, you don't lose necessarily more or less games than you would, right? Like it's not that high of an impact. So I understand trying to get a little bit more out of him. So, but yeah, like I do think that if they don't get someone who they consider to be some tough, strong enforcer who's going to scare other teams, who's going to make teams uncomfortable entering the zone or whatever they think that size does, I think he stays. I really do. I really think that that's more important to them than other things.
Do you guys not think that the whole we're like waiting for him to get better, we're trying to see what we have thing is a lie? Like this guy's 26 years old. What have they not seen yet?
They can both be true. They can give him runaway the regular season, but then you ask Scott Arniel, in private, or someone asks the coach are sitting down, they're saying who are our best 6D to play right now, and then someone says, "Well, Stanley." Like everyone in the room saying, I don't know if we can afford the trade-off here. I don't know if it's like we've seen now 40 games of body of work where he's not a presence physically. That is not something he excels at. So I don't think when they're sitting there, they're doing that. And if that is what we see, this is a double hypothetical, right? One, they have to get a big defenseman in the situation. 2, they have to play Stanley. Yeah, I'll be the first one here to criticize it if it goes south. Right, like
look, he played in the playoffs last year, and he played in the playoffs last year, and it didn't go well. So I'm with you on the.
I just like my passionate take is like I look at, not to be this guy, but that piece I wrote about Scott Arniel in his office. He has that Stanley Cup. This is a guy that wants to win the cup so bad. Everybody, like all the assistant coaches, like everybody, the lure of the cup is so special. Playoffs are on. There's so much significance. I do not think that at that point when they're evaluating options and they know that another option is definitively better than Stanley, that they're playing Logan Stanley. I don't.
I think that's
Development stops
reasonable.
once you get to the playoffs. Perfetti played one game.
Yeah, I think your opinion changes when the clock runs out on number 82. It's,
It's different.
like you said, Billy Heinola, you think that there could be something there and you can test and you can do whatever you want over the course of 82 games. But if you don't like it, try again, see you in the fall, buddy, because this is not the time to be running experiments and stuff like that. And I do think they consider him to be an experiment still.
I even think that I'm all here for, if I was in charge, which I'm not, never will be, I think that you should be doing a rotation of Heinola and Stanley, but it shouldn't be one game. They should each get decent runs at the expense of the other. I'll be very clear. Not just Stanley. Okay, Heinola and Stanley. Stanley.
No, they should never see the ice as a pairing ever again.
But what I was trying to say, though, is if we want to have a conversation in the summer when stuff's dead about how the Jets have developed improperly in some situations or how they could have handled things differently, I'm all here for it. But I think it's a disservice as us as a market to be so nitpicky about Heinola, Stanley, when it just comes down to what defenseman can make them a better team right now. Whoever it is, once it is, put your best 6D.
Here's my thing. I agree with that. Here's my thing. You mentioned when the playoffs start, development ends. Stanley's development is over. And you know how you win in the playoffs, according to every NHL head coach ever, with size and toughness on your back end and big penalty killers and shot blockers. And that is what they think Logan Stanley is.
I disagree, Connor. I don't know if they think that that's what Logan Stanley is. I think that's what they want him to be.
They want him to be. And then when it comes down to game 83, first game of the playoffs, and they know that he's not that, they're not playing him.
How can Logan Stanley play 70 plus games in a season and then in the playoffs it's not?
I'll tell you how. Because right now their fifth defenseman spot, they have to choose between Heinola and Stanley. They have their top 3D, Pionk, Morrissey, and DeMello in ice time. Actually, Sandberg might be up there. Whatever. So that four collectively, even with Sandberg, is the second smallest top four in the entire league. Okay, right. They're being nitpicky because they can. They are the best team in the NHL, or one of them. They can have that size or whatever they are on that bottom pair. It's so specific. We talked about this after the Lowry Ehlers game. You were saying, listen, let's go back up a second. The Chibrikov debate we had. I was wrong. It was a classic ELT situation. I think that's just the Jets. I think a lot of teams would have said, you know what? He's waiver exempt. It happens all around the league, guys. It's not just the Jets in that situation. The Lowry Ehlers thing, they're not breaking that duo up. They're not. Because they need Nikolaj Ehlers to be a game breaker. They need Cole Perfetti to be an impact player. Those are things that need to happen. Okay? Kevin Cheveldayoff said it in last year's mid-year press conference. He mentioned it sort of with Kyle Connor about how he told Paul Maurice, okay, we'll set him down, but for this team to go anywhere, we need to go from that player needs to go from here to here.
Right.
Same stands for Cole Perfetti. He's playing some of his best hockey on a different line. They're not touching that. So what I'm trying to say is not only are there things that Jets are going to unavoid when it comes down to it, it's all about importance and value. I hate to break it to you guys, but the regular season, the 6D means nothing now.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree with you.
It really means nothing. I'm not going to defend playing Stanley, but I can understand it. Okay,
it's I would not still disagree
if I was in a boardroom meeting with people and someone's asking for my opinion. I disagree. I give a lot of examples, whatever, but I can understand it. Okay, and I think that also the idea here that size is this mystical thing. Watch the playoffs. Tell me that you don't need to have physicality in those games. I'm sorry.
Then you need someone other than Stanley because he's not physical.
That's what I'm saying.
I think we're on the same page here. I think that where I fall is that right now.
It's fun to argue and yell, though. So
I agree, and I'm going to keep going. I'm not done.
Yeah, why don't you say something stupid? So let's destroy it. No mercy.
That the fifth or sixth defenseman, I completely agree with you. Like you said, you put so many different guys, and that the impact on the number of wins you have over the course of the season, so minimal, so minimal right now. Contrary to what we think about the Winnipeg Jets, as a whole in their decision making, I think they're running the high risk, high reward play right now, because what the outcome, the super low chance but you want to play that chance is, yeah, he turns into X, Y, Z. You think that he's going to do that and he's going to bring that physicality that you so desperately need. So I completely agree with that. But where I go with, I have never, ever, ever said that size is not quote unquote important, but I do not believe in this whole, oh yeah, if you lay a couple extra hits over the course of 7 games and wear them down, if that player is giving up 5 goals a game, I cannot get on board with that.
No,
but I think it's the sort of thing. So yeah, that's why you need to bring in players who do all of those things and also score more goals than they give
Here's
up.
the second part of it too, though. Why Stanley's playing. They probably hope that or the player evolves to a point where if there's an injury, he can go in. Because Pinola's not touching a playoff lineup.
Not a chance.
It's not. Like,
yeah, I agree. And we're gonna leave it at that because we've already been talking about
we have so many takes. We
have decided that the 6th defenseman is useless, and we've been talking about it for like 20 minutes. So we will pause this till next week, let's say. But yeah, that was the Logan Stanley thing is never going to end in this market. And it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do at the deadline in relation to that, because this is a legitimate debate, in my opinion, at least. Maybe not in the other two.
No. Well, of course it's a debate because we just had it for 30 minutes.
Well, I mean, a debate within the Jets decision makers.
Oh yeah. No, they're talking about it. They're talking about it
for sure. All right, let's get to our segments. We've already gone way too long. Let's get to trending up, trending down. And look, we had a lot of players last week that we selected because all 3 of us were here. So there's a lot of players off the board for us this week as well. Let me just get up the graphic there. Yes, I will. This is trending up or down, a segment where we outline who is trending up or down for the Winnipeg Jets over the past week. The rules are very simple. All 3 of us will pick a player who has been trending up or down, and we cannot repeat an answer that has been said and can't repeat an answer that was said last week. The players we picked last week for trending up were Gustafsson, Sandberg, and Lowry. For trending down, we picked Stanley, Perfetti, and Kupari. So those players are off the board. All of you who have joined us here live on YouTube on a Sunday morning, make sure you hit the chat room. Let us know your picks for trending up or trending down. And while you're down there, make sure you hit the like button. We really appreciate it.
Wait,
Jacob,
we let the crowd here. Down was Kupari and who else?
Perfetti and Stanley.
And can I pick someone from down and make them up or no?
Nope.
Cool.
No, they're
just reminding folks the rule.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Just
I don't know why we made that the rule, but it's kind of funny. So we're going with it.
It's fun. Jacob, you go first on trending up. Who do you got?
I follow.
Nice.
You're big on him. I love it.
I think Connor made fun of me, but I said before a game he had an insane game. I'm like, have you gained like an appreciation for I follow? And you've been chirping me for that. But it's like,
well, like it was such a deeply like philosophical question. It's like, have you gained an appreciation? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I think he's playing well. I haven't like gained
I think that this guy is such a effective player. I think that that's not a top 6 player, but I think that middle 6 configuration, he's a great support guy to a Lowry and to an Ehlers. I think that IFL and the penalty kill has been exceptional. Like, this is a guy that is able to break up plays, drive the net, drive the puck the other way, get a shot off, kill 20, 25 seconds in the process, and help the Jets kill overall. So, love IFL. It's going to be a big piece of the playoffs, no matter where he slots.
Have to agree.
And then trending down,
nope.
right?
No.
Right.
You'll
last time too. Gosh.
Yeah, exactly. Lyss, who do you have for trending up?
I fear I'm going to pick the obvious answer here. My trending up is Nikolaj Ehlers. I think, people have been clamoring for him to play more minutes for years now, and we're seeing him being played in a little bit of a different role, and he's been up to the task. He gets the trending up for me.
Love it. I'm going to go with Neil Pionk, actually, as my pick. Last night with Neil Pionk on the ice at 5-on-5, the shot attempts for the Jets were 34-10. Shots on goal 14-4. The expected goals 82%. With Neil Pionk and the Dylan Sandberg pairing on the ice. With Dylan Sandberg back, Neil Pionk has looked a lot better. And last night, he had a few passes inside the zone that landed right on a player's tape in a high danger spot, and they were able to get a shot off right away. And that is the passing we saw. I know this is a crazy callback, but the COVID year where he racked up so many assists, that's the passing we saw, the in-zone passing that was right on players' tape, setting up chances. And with Dylan Sandberg back, Neil Pionk has looked a lot better in his own end as well. A lot more calm and poised with the puck. So Neil Pionk gets my trending up. He had a really, really strong week and game last night, in my opinion. Trending down, I'm going to go with Vladislav Nemesnikov, who has not played this week, but I'm still going to go trending down because I brought up the numbers earlier between the Lowry and Ehlers duo, they're just shredding their minutes right now. And with that, I'm not sure if Vladislav Nemesnikov is going to come back into the same role that he left when he got injured. So that's going to be my trending down. He didn't play his way out of that role, but with being injured, the other players in that role have kind of brought the best out of Nikolaj Ehlers. So I think for that, Nemesnikov is trending down. Lyss, who do you have for trending down?
Crazy, but let's keep going with the same train of thought. I'm going to go with Mason Appleton. I think the exact same thing. And this is a player that I've questioned if Mason Appleton should be a top 5 forward in ice time on a Stanley Cup winning team. And I think now that we're seeing that you can be a bit more creative with some of these traditional roles and all those sorts of things, I think his value may be decreasing. And this may be a guy who ends up playing a little bit more of a fourth line style of game, depending on if they make some trades and who they want to play. So he's a guy that, it's unfortunate for him that his absence has been what's caused this, but opportunity is how you learn in hockey. And his injury and Vlad Nemesnikov's have provided an opportunity for the Jets, and they're figuring out that maybe they need this player less than they thought they did. So unfortunately, mine's going to be Mason Appleton for trending down this week.
Jacob, who do you got?
Can I say I hate the rules of this? Like, this is so tough.
I know. It's such that's why I picked an injured guy. I'm like, this sucks.
What happens is when you're last for training down, there is like 6 guys I can't take.
Yeah.
So like, there's not many people training down right now.
You literally have like half the team that you can.
I have to like
not
pick
even
on someone I don't want to pick on.
Okay, well, you can also take like the penalty kill, or you could take something like
sometimes
that's
we take
goofy
things. You could choose the Manitoba.
The Manitoba Moose. Well, they're trending up though.
They're trending up. Like, I don't know. This is a great question.
Dmitry Kuzmin trending down.
Yeah, no kidding.
Out.
I will say, gosh, like this is, I've never felt as frozen. Maybe, guys, maybe
you can pass.
It's not fair to him. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't even want to say that.
Connor, you had a kind of dark horse take. Do you want to maybe fight Jacob about that one? I feel like you guys might have differing opinions on it.
Sure. Nino Niederreiter is my dark horse.
That's the guy I said first. I had someone to pick on. I didn't want to pick on. Yeah. Like,
okay. He's scored 2 goals since December 7th, and that's been like 20 or so games.
Yeah.
He does. Him and Perfetti do look good together, but there's still not enough production there.
Okay. The reason I didn't want to pick on Nino was because I think that he's doing a lot of the other things. The walk the wall and extending plays, right? That I like. Nino has always been and always will be a streaky scorer. When he was in Minnesota, Carolina, wherever, this guy always had, even in Winnipeg, actually, he's had stretches where he scores like 8 goals in like 12 games, or 8 goals, 15 games, and then 20 games with like 1 or 2. So this is Nino Niederreiter. So I guess he's trending down, but I want to very much like preface that with the notion that I think that he's played well in a role to complement those guys. I'd like to see him get a bit more shots off though. So
for sure. Perfetti we picked last week, so he's off the board, but the chat was kind of flying in with their takes for trending up, trending down. Thank you everyone for mentioning that. And now let's get to the last segment. We are going now to one burning question. This is a segment where we throw it to you, the chat, for any question that you may have for us regarding the Winnipeg Jets. We are going to attempt to rapid fire through these questions, so drop them in the chat below. And hey, while you're down there, make sure you hit the like button. We'd really appreciate it if you did. It lets YouTube know that we're putting out some great content, and maybe it sends it to a few extra Jets fans on the way as well when they're searching up Winnipeg Jets in the search bar. So please do, if you have joined us here so gracefully on a Sunday morning. My question to both of you, while the chat goes and throws their questions in the chat room for us, after an 8-game homestand, we heard a lot of goal songs, a lot of the personal goal songs. We ranked them at the start of the year, but is there one goal song that you heard that you thought maybe was better than you originally thought? Mark Scheifele's Shoot to Thrill, I think, still made my list.
That's what I was gonna say.
That song slaps after he scores. Like that That song is crazy. Live when he scores a big goal and like the crowd's going nuts and you got it blasting over the speakers. That's been one of my favorites. So this is like a trending up down segment of goal songs. But are there any goal songs for you guys off the top of your head that, in the homestand someone scored and you thought, that actually sounds a lot better than I thought it would?
I can't lie to you. Espresso still hits. Yesterday,
Espresso,
that came on. I was like, this is so good. But I do need to give a shout out in particular. I'm just making sure I have it right. This Is Your Night. Dylan DeMello, that goal came at a great time, and maybe you couldn't hear it super well because of how much everyone was screaming. But you know what? I was like, great song. Don't get to hear it super often, but when you do, it's a big one. So I stand by my takes of what I think good and bad goal songs are, but I couldn't agree more on the Shoot to Thrill take.
Yeah. Mark Scheifele's Shoot to Thrill.
That one's growing on me big time.
It's been playing a lot. Yeah,
it has been playing a lot. I'm gonna go with Disco Inferno by Nino. Whatever remix they have, but there's like a little bit of a remix in it too.
Yeah.
Unreal, it slaps. I'm gonna chirp one person's goal song because they play a lot. Ehlers is House on Fire. It sounds like the end
bad.
It sounds like the end of a Disney movie when like the main character like gets the mission done and then the credits roll down. And I like Disney movies. I'm not trying to, but it's like we're in like an intense hockey game and then he scores. And it's like it's like 3-1. The Jets are like clawing back in. It's like, and the house is on fire. I'm like, what? Like,
I am a firm believer that your goal song
movie vibes, like the main
for sure.
Just, like,
it
beat
does.
the mission or something.
Your goal song is not for you. It's for the people, and that song is not for the people. I'm sorry, it's just not. You need a better one.
Right. Exactly. Well, yeah, that was there was a lot of goal songs played over this 8-game homestand. And Mark Scheifele's was played a lot, Kyle Connors as well. But I will go with Shoot to Thrill. Was it cool meeting Comet last night? Yes, it was. We ran into Comet last night. Nice seeing you. Not on the WST night, but last night as well, and all the people at the WST night as well. Super awesome to meet everyone. Who does Winnipeg want to play in the first round? Right now, the wildcard teams are Colorado or it might be Dallas now because Colorado beat Dallas last night. But it's one of those two teams and Calgary, Vancouver. Who do you guys think the Jets would want to play? I guess Vancouver or Calgary are one of those dysfunctional teams that would be in the. Well, Calgary's not dysfunctional. Vancouver is. There's levels to that. But who do you think, Lyss? Who do you think they'd want to play?
Well, if Calgary or Vancouver are an option, I think that one of those two would be ideal for the Jets. That's what I'm going with. I'm not counting out anyone in the Central Division. I think they all in their own way have very interesting teams that I could see the Winnipeg Jets managing, but I also could see the Winnipeg Jets struggling against. I go with one of those specific wildcard teams. That's ideal for me.
Jacob, of the 4 big teams in the Central Division, Winnipeg, Minnesota, Dallas, Colorado, or of the 3, I guess, because they can't play themselves, who do you think they'd want to play the most? Who's the best fit? Is it a hot take to say Minnesota?
No, I think Dallas.
Dallas would be the best team to play against theoretically.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be good against Minnesota. I really don't.
Really? They've beat them like 8 straight times.
They can beat all of those teams in series. I'm gonna be very clear. Saying that I would, if I'm the Jets, I'd welcome a first round match with Minnesota gives me a bit of the ick. It's like, I don't know about that. Like that's a team that plays a similar style and's got a lot more size down the middle. Not that Eriksson Ek is just a dog, and I think that's a scary matchup. I would say Dallas. But the reason I'm so hesitant is like Dallas is at the point now where like the regular season just doesn't matter for them and they get turned on at a dime. So that's a scary first round opponent.
Yeah, I will say a first round or any round against Minnesota would just be a bloodbath too, and it'd be so much fun to cover.
2018, you will always be famous. You will always be famous.
Will any of the hosts be at the Moose game today? I won't be. Lyss, I know you're locked into the Moose. Are you going
no, guys, today? I have spin class. I can't go.
You can't go. There we go.
I'll be watching later. Don't worry. Don't worry.
We're watching HLTV while she's at spin class.
Yeah.
The craziest thing to have on your phone. I will not be home from this game today.
This is a good question. When Vlad is healthy, do you put him back with Perfetti or do you keep them separated? We've talked a lot about how the Lowry-Ehlers duo has worked well together, but on the third line with Kapari, is that where you slide Vlad back in between Niederreiter and Perfetti? Lyss, do you think?
Here's what I do. Bottom 9 with the Jets, I roll with the pairings Lowry-Ehlers, Niederreiter, Perfetti. Appleton, Nemestikov, and then I slot in
Okay.
guys kind of around that. I think
Yeah.
either whether that's
I'm
trade,
here for
internal
that.
usage, that's what I'm going to go with.
I'm here for that.
Okay. Sounds good. Last year's playoff debacle. Do you think the Jets defense or offense, what is down more? I don't
Like
really
since
understand this
then?
question.
I think since,
Maybe. Yeah. Jacob, go ahead.
What's down more? Are they both up?
Are
Do you
they?
think they both improved?
Oh, yeah. Defense
would-
probably down
down.
from last year, I think.
Probably,
Hellebuyck
yeah.
standing on his head a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, again, they're still a great defensive team, but yeah.
I think, yeah, they lost. I don't know. The Sandberg's evolved. They lost Dylan, so it's
True.
kind of a weird. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
defense. I'm not sure I understand.
Okay.
but
Okay. Turning down the fencing in the PLD song. I will say this was funny during the LA game. The upper deck, a lot of people were singing "Hey Baby," and they've carried it through the rest of the homestand up in the upper
They've
deck.
been doing
But the
pretty
LA
well.
game was funny because it was just like his goal song. The Jets fleeced them in that deal.
Best goal song ever. I
Yeah.
stand by it.
Do I follow an Ehlers walk at season's end? I think they both test the market for sure.
Yeah.
neither will be a
But you
Jet.
guys neither will be a Jet.
I think that IFL has a higher likelihood than Ehlers,
Yeah, they're both.
but
gone.
they're both gone. I agree.
Okay. Will Comrie start next Sunday against the Flames? I could see him starting on Friday against Utah because the Jets are playing Utah like twice this week and Calgary. So I think he does start one of those games. Usually they go like 3 Hellebuck games, then a Comrie game. So I could see
I think
that.
if they're trying to protect his mental health and stuff like that, I think they don't play him against Calgary again, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Why?
I could see them.
Give him a revenge chance.
I don't know if
Revenge
revenge
game?
chance is what you need. I
Why?
think alley-oop is a little bit of a better one, trying to give a weaker opponent. I don't know.
Mhm.
Calgary's got a lot to fight for right now. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the shutdown line ever gets reunited? I
Yes.
do this season.
Yeah, at some
I
point.
do. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things they know it works, right? If you're a line blender, at least you can toss those guys together and you can have some okay results.
Yeah, for sure. Are you happy with how the Jets get the puck after a dump and chase? Jacob, you've talked about this before. Sometimes the Jets chip and chase and aren't the best at retrieving it off of that. Where you have you
Yeah,
seen improvements there? Where are you at?
Recently, I think it's been better.
Okay.
Still an area where I think they could improve.
Okay, nice. Okay. Yeah, this one we kind of answered. I agree with what Lyss said earlier. The middle 6 forward rather than just a 2C or a 3C or whatever the case may be. Who don't the Jets want to play in the first round? I would say Colorado. And I know that I know that it was last year, so it's pretty easy to say that. But I just think Colorado's speed gives the Jets so many issues where I think the Jets can maybe match the speed of Dallas or match the speed of Minnesota. And they just can't with Colorado, no matter who they get at the deadline. They just can't do it.
I think that, the Jets have played well against them this year. They played really well earlier this week. Val Nichushkin wasn't playing. Val Nichushkin was like that alone.
Right.
I don't know, guys. I
8
don't
goals in
like
that
their
series or something.
chances.
Yeah. He had so many points, so many goals in that series. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. How many more games can Comrie lose before it's a problem? I think it already is. Like, I think we're at that. Well, not like Comrie's the problem, but like Lyss said, it is a problem.
I
The
think
Jets can't score around him.
I don't know.
If he wins every game for the rest of the season or loses every game for the rest of the season, nothing changes. So that's why I don't know if I consider it to be a problem, right?
Well, well, maybe the Jets should then move off of like Nikita Chibrikov for a backup goalie just in case.
You're on
that upgrade.
3 out of 10 rage bait.
Deadline.
3 out of 10 rage bait.
Go for it.
You can do better.
Yeah, not my best, not my finest work. That was one burning question. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here on a Sunday morning, dropping your questions down below. We really appreciate it. We hope you enjoy the stream. We hope you hit the like button. And we hope you join us next Sunday as well for another edition of WST Sunday Live. Next Sunday, actually, the Jets are going to be playing Friday night at home against Utah. And then they have a Sunday game against the Calgary Flames. So it'll be the first game day edition of WST Sunday Live in quite some time. Jets have played 6 straight Saturday home games. So it was a lot of Saturday nights been spent at Canada Life Center recently. But there's only one more Saturday home game the rest of the season. But there's a lot more Friday home games, at least I've found, in the back half of this year. So it kind of makes that switch. Anything else that we want to discuss on the way out here, guys? I know we've gone a little bit long, but it's the Logan Stanley debate. We had to.
Let's actually unpack that one again. Let's dive a little bit more into that
dive
one.
back into it. Yeah.
No, I'm just looking forward to seeing how they adjust to being back on the road this week. That's going to be a big shift for them. And, they've gotten pretty comfortable at home, which is a good thing. I think all in all, the homestand, we ended up seeing a lot of what we wanted to see, which is, a couple of big wins, couple of 2-pointers in the bank, which is always important, but also a little bit of line shuffling, a little bit of, matchup winning and all that sort of stuff. So it's pretty good. So we'll see if they can continue that on the road.
For sure. Jacob, what are you looking for on the road starting in Utah?
I'm just focused on the middle six. I think Perfetti starting to play a style of play that could be, serviceable in important games. And I want to see that continue.
Okay. I agree. And to see, we might be getting some more players healthy here with Nemeskov and Appleton maybe coming back soon. The defense core is healthy too. So I'm also interested in the middle six, but also the lineup decisions that go with the team getting a little bit healthier here. Not only who's in the lineup, but how they deploy their lineup as well. That starts Monday in Utah. The Jets' first ever game in Utah against the Utah Hockey Club. They did play them earlier in the year, beat them 3-0 inside Canada Life Center. But that'll be really interesting. I've watched a few of Utah's games this year. The atmosphere is so much, better than what Arizona was for sure. But it's still an incredible atmosphere. Very small rink, very similar to Winnipeg. It's even like 4,000 people less. And they are just like Winnipeg, right on top of the rink. And those fans are loving the first season, even though Utah, isn't in a playoff spot right now, not having their best year. But that'll be a good game. Utah's a really fun team to watch, and I'm excited for it. That's going to do it for this edition of WST Sunday Live. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. 9 a.m. on a Sunday. We'll be back next Sunday, bright and early at 9 a.m. once again, so set your alarms. Breaking down the Jets' Friday night game against Utah and the entire week, and previewing that Sunday game against the Calgary Flames. Thanks for sticking it out with us. We went a little long today, 10:17. Enjoy your Sunday, everyone. Enjoy the football. Eagles, Rams, and then
Bills, Ravens.
Bills, Ravens.
Bills, Ravens is going to be so good. I'm sat.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun. So enjoy the football today, everyone, and we will see you next Sunday on WST Sunday Live. See ya.